Good afternoon. I want to thank the Canada Africa Chamber of Business for inviting me to give this keynote address and to participate virtually in your deliberations. Of course, I would have preferred to be there in person. However, given the travel conditions today as a result of COVID-19, it is not possible for me to be there, but I do hope that in the near future we will have an in-person engagement. In the context of increasing trade tensions, increasing trade and investment protectionism, and unilateral trade measures among key global players, as well as the adoption of inward-looking approaches, the imperative for an integrated African market becomes all the more important. Africa's vulnerabilities and limited participation in global trade is indicative of its traditional reliance on the export of raw commodities and the import of value-added products. The recent global financial and economic crises, including the COVID-19 pandemic, have demonstrated the vulnerability of many African economies to external shocks, including fluctuating commodity prices. The continent's full export potential will remain unfulfilled unless we address the challenges of poor infrastructure, small and fragmented markets, underdeveloped production structures, shallow industrial base, and inadequate economic diversification. Until the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, Africa was the second fastest growing region in the world after Asia. According to the International Monetary Fund's World Economic Outlook database, in the year 2019, 7 of the world's 10 fastest growing economies in the world were in Africa. The African Development Bank had projected Africa's economic growth to be at 3.4% for 2020, before the onset of the pandemic. Contrast that with the bleak economic outlook that confronts Africa today, which of course confronts the rest of the world also. The African Union Commission projects Africa's economic growth to contract by between 2.1% in an optimistic scenario and 4.9% in the most extreme scenario. The World Bank projects that as a consequence of the impact of COVID-19, Africa may experience a recession for the first time in 25 years. Ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, given all of this, given this bleak economic outlook, it may appear as if the start of trading under the AfCFTA, which is scheduled for the 1st of January 2021, could not have been planned or could not have happened at a worse economic time. However, I believe that the bleak economic outlook that Africa confronts today challenges us to think very innovatively, to think very creatively about how and what we can do to re-inject dynamism and growth back in Africa's economy. At the heart of Africa's economic recovery is the private sector taking full advantage of implementation of the AfCFTA as various countries across the African continent liberalize trade and reduce regulatory and non-tariff barriers to trade. The objective of boosting intra-Africa trade by opening new markets across Africa cannot be achieved by governments alone, certainly cannot be achieved by the AfCFTA Secretariat alone. The role of governments and the AfCFTA Secretariat is to establish the necessary regulatory and legal conditions for cross-border private sector economic activity to take place unhindered. As the AfCFTA Secretariat, we are committed to working with the state parties to the AfCFTA to ensure that private sector-led trade becomes the driver for Africa's economic recovery from January 2021 year on year. As I have observed before, if the AfCFTA does not result in inclusive trade and broad-based economic activity, it shall not resonate with Africans and it shall not be successful. In this regard, we are exploring various modalities for ensuring inclusivity in the implementation of this agreement. We are exploring various digital-enabled platforms that are aimed at enhancing market access and trade connectivity of small medium enterprises to new markets across the African continent. We shall collaborate with the African Union Commission to leverage the AfCFTA to accelerate the implementation of the digital transformation strategy for Africa in order to transform production systems, promote industrialization, and the use of advanced technology in all sectors of the production value chain. One of the biggest constraints to cross-border trade on the African continent is the cost of transactions, which is caused by the need to convert the US dollar into a local currency before commencing a commercial or a trade transaction. This high cost of transactions discourages intra-Africa trade and sustains the fragmentation of markets in Africa. I am pleased to announce that we are collaborating very closely with Afreximbank and other stakeholders on the African continent to establish an efficient and affordable payments and settlement platform for cross-border transactions through a digitized Pan-African payments and settlement platform in order to support the implementation of the AfCFTA. By providing the requisite settlement backstop and liquidity for this payments and settlement platform, Afreximbank shall be giving practical meaning to our shared objective of an integrated market in Africa. Without an efficient and cost-effective Pan-African payments and settlement platform, the private sector will be significantly constrained in accessing new markets under the AfCFTA. We are working along with Afreximbank, we are working flat out to ensure that this digital payments and settlement platform is rolled out as soon as possible after trading has started under the AfCFTA on the 1st of January 2021. In order to maximize the benefits of the AfCFTA, it is anchored on rules of origin or local content requirements that are aimed at enhancing industrial development in Africa. The promotion of economic diversification, beneficiation, and value addition are all critical factors that will be further enhanced by the AfCFTA rules of origin regime that is almost at the point of being concluded in the negotiations. The AfCFTA rules of origin are an important tool of Africa's industrial development. The AfCFTA Secretariat will collaborate with the private sector to harness the full potential of the AfCFTA by transforming locally raw materials into value-added finished products in order to create jobs and increase the export of African manufactured products. Leveraging our rules of origin regime to advance industrial development shall require that we reinforce and provide our customs authorities with the adequate capacity to prevent transshipment of goods from third countries. A liberalized trade regime requires vigilance and an effective mechanism to prevent abuse in the form of transshipment, circumvention, and other forms of customs fraud. As I conclude, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to note that this year, 2020, is the year of silencing the guns. The implementation phase of the AFCFTA coincides with this very important milestone of silencing the guns, thereby providing an opportunity to focus on fast-tracking Africa's economic development objectives. A recent study by the World Bank estimates that where implemented properly, by the year 2035, the AFCFTA is set to lift 30 million Africans out of extreme poverty and 68 million Africans out of moderate poverty. This same study observes that the AFCFTA has the potential to increase intra-Africa trade by 81% by the year 2035. As promising and hopeful as these projections are, as Africans and as the AFCFTA Secretariat, we shall have to take concrete steps to ensure that these promising projections do actually become a reality by the year of 2035. Successful implementation of the AFCFTA shall further consolidate the gains that are foreseen in Agenda 2063, the Africa that we want, and indeed shall take us a step closer to the Africa that we want. I thank you very much for your attention. I look forward to working with you. I understand that we are now in the final stages of establishing a quarterly framework, AFCFTA and Canada Africa Chamber of Business quarterly forum, where we will discuss opportunities that the AFCFTA has the potential to open for Canadian investors. I look forward to further partnership with you. I thank you very much.